Hey guys, okay, I went through the book, and this is going to be our first of all, from the Cookies World, um, in a series called Free Ancestors. Um, I went and got types of sites, because there are different types of sites. The first type he discusses is our aggregation sites. What those are sites that have a bunch of links. They don't necessarily have records themselves, they just have a bunch of links to records. Cindy's List is the most well known. There's also Access Genealogy. Then there's sites for records that are free. Genealogy Traits, Reclaim the Records. There are other sites that have links but also may have databases. If you want to find out what databases all the libraries have, DBLA. I Dream of Genealogy and New Horizons Genealogy. There are also cemetery sites. Obviously, Find a Grave comes up, Billion Graves, but the National Cemetery Administration and Patriot and Grave Registry, that's for soldiers. Then there are newspaper sites, Chronicling America, and there is Veridian. I think they compile all the free newspaper sites. And there are military sites, one of which is the Civil War Soldiers and Sailors Database. Or you can go by state. For example, Maine, Massachusetts, or Connecticut. Also, try out Numident for a Social Security search. NUMIDENT, it's part of the National Archives. So, in the National Archives is very important also. Now, I'm going to go to some of these sites because I have the PDF up in the background. And in future episodes, I will go deeper into the ones that I really enjoyed and tell you what I didn't. I'll be honest, or if I found something too difficult, whatever the case may be. And if you have a state you want me to feature, please let me know. My states are Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Michigan, New York, am I forgetting anything here? I have a little bit of Rhode Island. California. I have a couple of people in Virginia. Several in California. Let's see, who else? What else? Trying to think what other states, just to give you an example of, because you're not just working in your home state. Everybody has a different state. And in my family, my home state isn't either of my parents' home state. Yes, my father grew up here. He was not born here, and this is not where his family is from. His father was born in Connecticut. He was born in Connecticut. His mother was born here, in this town. But her mother was from Connecticut, and her father was from Vermont. So, and her mother's parents were from Canada. Actually, her grandfather was born on the water, on Lake Champlain. Her great-grandparents actually came from Canada. No, her grandmother came from Canada. Josephine came from Canada. Her grandfather was born on the water, between Canada and the U.S. He was also French. So, Grammy was very French. And Grampy was very Irish. His parents were both born in Northern Ireland. So for me, I have to go to where they came in, which would be Massachusetts. Or Patience probably was always in Connecticut. I'm not sure about that, but that seems more than plausible. So, trying to think. Do I have any other states? I know you may be surprised that I have Michigan. I have a lot of Michigan, actually. Because a lot of my family in Connecticut, on the Wilson side, a whole line, followed the car manufacturers up into the Detroit area. So, trying to think. They followed the auto industry, so, which my family came down here as both lumberjacks and following the mills. So I'm trying to think. I also have Canada, which they don't have. That's the one thing they don't have in that book is other countries, international, that I saw anyway. So, because I have Canada, I have Ireland, England. I do have Germany. I am not myself German. However, the man I call my grandfather, man who will always be my grandfather, was pure German. And I also have a lot of cousins on the Wilson side that are pure German. So, because the Wilsons married into a couple of large German families, they also married into a Polish family. Maybe more than one Polish family. Which is unusual, but things happen. It was later it was slightly later generations. But anyway. Excuse me. Once there were a couple generations into the country. Oh. Yeah, that needs to be tossed. But that's okay because my good one is clean now. My lips look blue. Why do my lips look so blue? That's weird. My nails are not blue as far as I can see. I can't really see. So thank you so much. Like I said, I will see if it has any. Ouch, that hurts. What do you call it? International, but I don't think it does. Because that can be important because your family immigrated from somewhere. I mean, you live in the United States. So let me see if there's anything. Okay, there's miscellaneous sites, library sites. You can do Library of Congress, and certain libraries have genealogical collections that are better than others. This is aggregation sites. Link sites. Okay, aggregation sites are sites that are, I'm wrong about that. Link sites just have links. Aggregation sites aggregate or put together a bunch of databases, like Family Search or Ancestry if it was free. There's newspaper sites. Yeah, I don't see anything. I mean, they did mention the Australian newspaper site called Trove, which is free, and it's an excellent newspaper source if you have Australia, which I do have a couple of lines that went to Australia instead of coming here. So yeah, it's a job, but it's fun. So I definitely would try Trove, Trove, if you have ancestors that went to Australia as well as came here. Um, Also, you might want to learn the rules of these countries as far as what they allow out, how old it has to be, what you have to do to get it. You know what I mean? If you want paper copies of things. Most of the records I've gotten from Ireland that are paper copies, I've gotten from other people. So I haven't had to deal with that, which for me, because of the money exchange, all of that stuff, I wouldn't want to deal with it. So, but I guess, well, and try to remember that if you're working in Ireland, yes, Northern Ireland has some of its own records, but Ireland was one country until 1922. So try to keep that in mind. When my family left, Ireland was one country. It wasn't Northern Ireland. You will see on the census N period Ireland, but for the most part, it's Ireland because they didn't split until 1922, which is why on the census from 1930 on, especially, but even in 1920, on my great-grandparents' census, they put that. Okay. Yep, I scratched that up really good. So, thank you for joining me for this episode. I will include some links. Put it on my to-do list. So, because I think that's important, and I think it's really important that, like I said, we know a little bit about the country where our ancestors came from. I mean, you might have traditions, you might have food that they ate that you still eat. I mean, I still have food that I eat. Of course, I'm only 2 generations removed. So, on my father's side, I'm only a 3rd generation American. My grandfather was a 1st generation American. My grandmother was a 2nd generation American, because her mother was a 1st generation American, and my father was a 2nd. I mean, my father was a 3rd, so I'm a 4th. On my mother's side, we go back to the freaking Mayflower, and I'm not even kidding, and the Anne, which was the 2nd ship to come in. So yeah, on my mother's side, I'm the zillionth generation. Actually, I'm about 12 generations, I think, because Mary was my 10th great grandmother. She was an immigrant, so that would be 10th on the. So I would be, 10th generation on the Dyer side. I have no clue on the Cox side. I'd have to go back to John and count backwards to John. It's like between 10 and 12. It's a long time. On the Mitchell side, it's probably 6. On Grampy Mitchell's side, probably 6, I would say. No. Yeah, on the Mitchell side of Grampy's side, but on the Plant side, I'm only like 4th generation. So, I mean, do most people know this? Probably not, but they should. And you should know what you are. Most people have an idea. Of what they are. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm a mongrel, I'm a mutt. Well, not necessarily. I mean, yes, you'll have other admixture, but you will be primarily something. I am primarily Irish, Scottish, Wales, that whole United Kingdom, basically. I am United Kingdom, and I am French. Primarily. I have other little admixtures, like I got 2.8%, Italian in there, which comes off the Mediterranean from my French. That's my best guess of where that comes from. Because they got to be the palest Italian you've ever seen. Anyway, and one of the palest Frenchmen you've ever seen. Because I get that from my Irish side and my English side. So I am primarily that. I have a little Norwegian in there and a little, I don't know how. It's on my mother's side somewhere along the line. So. My uncle is basically United Kingdom and French. So, trying to think, he has a couple of very small percentages beyond that. Those are his two main percentages. So, thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next time. Tomorrow. I am going to eat and get ready for my meeting. So, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 100. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.